Welcome to the February 11th edition of the Index Sports Show, the softball portion of our preview. I'm Jack Nicholl, sports editor. With me I have Blake Toppmeyer, editor-in-chief of the newspaper, and softball beat reporter Brendan O'Brien. Softball is coming off an 11-34 season and 3-17 in MIAA. Brendan, the offense struggled a little bit last season. They got outscored 201-98. And they lost some of the key players in the offense. Danny Mayer, a noteworthy person. What's the offense look like this season?
Well, really it's only the same team in name only. They've brought in 9 new players, so they've got 9 returners and 8 freshmen, 1 transfer. So they have a lot of talent coming into the system, and they've really redone their approach going up to the plate. So instead of taking each pitch, seeing the whole plate, they've decided to kind of split the plate in half, the middle in, middle out. And from what Coach Brown has said, that's been working very well, and she expects that to continue throughout the year.
That might be good because the team has drawn few walks in the past and also not had great power numbers. Blake, in 2006 was the last winning season for the team, followed by a couple of 500 seasons, and the last season really dropped down to the bottom of the MIAA. Is there any reason to think that this might be a turnaround year?
Well, the one good thing is, as Brendan mentioned, the influx of new players. They have 8 freshmen coming in this season, and Coach Brown's pretty excited about this year's freshman class. She said this is the best recruiting class that she's been able to bring in overall. Lots of numbers, and she really likes the way they're clicking with the rest of the team. She said team and cohesion has been a problem in the past, or has been not necessarily a problem, but something they haven't really excelled at, and she feels with so many freshmen coming in at the same time, that might help things out. One name that really stood out to me is Kristen Olsis. As a senior last year at Francis Howell Central High School, she had 9 home runs. She batted over 450, and she was St. Louis Post-Dispatch all-region team. So those are definitely some good numbers. The problem is she plays catcher, and best returning hitter, Erica Lacombe, also a catcher. So I'm not really sure how that'll factor into the lineup.
Actually, I just spoke to Erica Lacombe, and it looks like at this point she'll be switching to outfield and focusing solely on that. So in addition to having Christine Olses in the lineup, I think that might help Erica Lacombe at the plate, being able to focus solely on that instead of taking and beating behind the plate.
So there you go. Might be able to get both bats in the lineup. So
Lacombe has also played second some in the past, so she's a bit of a utility player. Brendan, switching to the pitching aspect, it's a positive for the team. They got Rochelle Van Gennep, the leading ERA last year, and then Ashley Rokovich, who also played a major role. What's the pitching staff look like?
Well, right, like you said, Jack, they're bringing back those 2, so they have the experience factor, and they're also bringing in Kirsten Krause, freshman out of St. Louis, and Beth Schnurbush. She's a junior transfer, and they should add some depth and just some new arms. Give Ashley and Rochelle some rest, and some much needed rest. Because last year they were down to 3 pitchers basically throughout the year. So, and they've been working hard at it. I know Rochelle said that she's really worked on her rise ball and screwball. So everything that they've been working towards together.
Did head coach Aaron Brown hint at a 4-woman rotation, or something that come out of the bullpen?
She didn't really say too much about how the bullpen situation would work, but I think they would probably try to stick to the 4-person rotation and maybe have someone switching in and out of the bullpen, maybe like a rubber arm.
Okay. We've already mentioned some, the 2 new pitchers, a new hitter coming in. Did head coach Aaron Brown mention anybody else, freshman or JUCO transfer, who might make an impact on the lineup?
She didn't really say it too much. She was really excited about all the new faces that were being brought in, and she said, frankly, the members being brought in just have more talent, and she was really excited about that, and the fact that they were able to hit to both sides of the plate was definitely a plus. I know she said that they couldn't see too much working indoors and everything, but being able to hit to both sides of the plate was definitely a positive early on for the team.
Blake, again with Erin Brown, since she did come in here, the team has been in decline. Her numbers have been similar to the head women's basketball coach John Sloop, who was fired a couple seasons ago. Could this be Brown's last season?
Well, I spoke with Director of Athletics Jerry Wolmering about that this week, and Jerry, at first I asked him, what's the grace period, and of course Jerry said, well, there's no specific time period that you have to prove yourself. I said, okay, so is this possibly her final season? And Jerry said, well, probably not. And pressed him a little bit further, and he says, no, this is not a do or die season for Coach Brown. You mentioned the numbers, and the numbers are fairly similar to Coach Sloop. Coach Sloop was here 8 seasons, though. Just looking at the winning percentage, Coach Brown 37% overall, and Coach Sloop was at 39%. Coach Brown is actually a little bit better in conference play, which is a good factor for her. But you look at some of the other coaches, and Coach Brown's actually been twice as successful as Dan Davis. Dan Davis' winning percentage at Sherman is 18%. But the thing with softball is, this was a successful program before she got here. As you mentioned, it's been in a decline. They had 8 straight winning seasons before Coach Brown was head coach, and their highest win total since she's been here is 22 wins. So things eventually are going to have to get better win-loss wise. But for now, it seems like Wolmering's content with giving her a couple more seasons to prove herself.
It's interesting, Wolmering, he fired Sloop, and then he's fired 2 football coaches in the last 2 seasons. So he has shown that he's capable of removing a head coach from duties.
Right, and I mentioned that as well. Of course, the football situation was what we'll call a unique situation with Coach Currier. He was not necessarily, he wasn't fired for performance. He was fired for a lack of leadership for that program, and then Coach Flecko was brought in on an interim basis, and he's no longer head coach as well. So he has shown that he can pull the trigger, but I think Sloop is probably the one that most closely mirrors Brown's situation.
Brendan, moving back to the team, they were supposed to play this weekend, got canceled because of the snow, now got moved up February 19th, Alabama-Huntsville tournament.
Right.
Does the extra week off do anything for the team?
It definitely does, because at this point the team is having all their practices inside, at which it helps, of course, but hitting and fielding ground balls, sometimes Coach Brown talks about players often get into bad habits fielding the perfect hops from the ground balls. So if the weather warms up, which that's unlikely, but if it were to happen, they could get outside, maybe even just for a day, and work on some things that they wouldn't be able to inside.
All right, that's all we have for the softball preview. Again, softball starts February 19th at the Alabama-Huntsville tournament, and they are coming off a 11-34 season.